The room hummed with an energy that didn't belong. Ethan Caldwell adjusted the thick-rimmed glasses perched on his nose. The disguise felt unnatural, but necessary. No one could know the truth, that the man in the cheap blazer and faded jeans was actually Ethan Caldwell, billionaire CEO of Titan Industries. The banners read Annual Cybersecurity Summit, but something was off. Too many suits mixed with military-grade boots. Too many casual conversations punctuated by quick, knowing glances. This wasn't just a tech convention. Samantha Pierce, his head of security, whispered through the hidden mic, "Something's wrong. These guys aren't just security." Ethan adjusted his cuff, brushing the concealed mic in his sleeve. "Keep eyes on the keynote. Vincent Hale's appearance makes no sense." Vincent Hale, the last person expected at a cybersecurity event. A crime boss tangled in smuggling, extortion, and unsolved assassinations. Yet here he was, on the guest list, set to speak on the future of data privacy. Nathan Briggs checked in from the parking garage. 2 black SUVs, tinted windows, no plates. We've got company. Ethan exhaled. He knew this wasn't a simple business trip. Vincent Hale took the stage. The lights dimmed, amplifying the eerie silence that settled over the audience. He wore a tailored suit, his silver-streaked hair slicked back, confidence dripping from every movement. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice smooth, controlled. "The world thrives on information. But what happens when that information falls into the wrong hands?" Ethan leaned forward. Samantha, standing by the exit, stiffened. Hale's words felt rehearsed, calculated, not just a speech. This was a message. "They say privacy is dead. They say security is a myth." He smirked, pacing the stage. "I say, control the data, control the world." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some attendees nodded, others shifted uncomfortably. Nathan's voice crackled in Ethan's earpiece. Cameras near the SUVs picked up movement. 6 men, heavily armed. Ethan whispered back, "Ready for a fast exit." Then it happened. The power cut out. A moment of silence. Then, a scream. Gunfire erupted from the back of the room. Bullets shattered glass, sending attendees scrambling for cover. Samantha hit the ground, drawing her weapon. Ethan dove behind a row of chairs, heart pounding. Flashlights flickered as Vincent Hale's men stormed in. Tactical gear, suppressed weapons, precision strikes. This wasn't a robbery. This was an extraction. Hale stood unfazed, his voice carrying through the darkness. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a demonstration." More gunfire. Security guards dropped before they could react. Nathan's voice roared through the earpiece. "Caldwell, you need to move." Ethan grabbed a fallen security guard's pistol and fired twice, dropping a masked gunman. Samantha returned fire, covering the nearest exit. But then, Vincent Hale turned, eyes locking on Ethan. He smirked, raised his hand, and everything stopped. The gunfire ceased. The attackers stood still. The chaos froze in time. Ethan's heart pounded as Hale stepped forward, lowering his arm. The gunmen holstered their weapons. Attendees, terrified and confused, remained on the floor. Hale spoke calmly. "We're not here to kill you. We're here to offer you a choice." A large screen flickered on behind him. A live feed. A digital vault filled with classified government files, flashing red text, "Access granted." Ethan exchanged a look with Samantha. This wasn't a heist. This was a power play. Vincent Hale wasn't stealing information. He already had it. The armed men stepped back, as if awaiting a command. Hale's gaze never wavered. "The world runs on secrets, Caldwell." His smile deepened. "Join me, and I'll show you who really pulls the strings." Ethan gritted his teeth, the weight of the moment pressed down. He wasn't just fighting criminals anymore. This was bigger, deeper. Samantha whispered urgently, "Ethan, we need to go." But Hale's smirk said it all. Ethan wasn't sure he could. The weight of Hale's words hung in the air. The gunmen stood motionless, their weapons lowered, but still within reach. The terrified murmurs of the attendees filled the void left by the sudden ceasefire. Ethan's pulse hammered in his ears. This wasn't just an ambush, it was a carefully orchestrated move. Vincent Hale knew exactly who he was. Samantha's voice was a whisper in his ear. "Ethan, we need an exit, now." But Ethan's instincts told him to stall. He didn't know how many more of Hale's men were outside, but rushing out blind could be worse than staying put. Hale took a slow step forward, hands casually in his pockets. "I know what you're thinking, Caldwell. You think you still have control." His smirk widened. "You don't." Behind him, the massive screen flashed again. Surveillance system breached. Security camera feeds popped up, showing the entire convention center, every entrance, every hallway, every escape route. Samantha clenched her jaw. "He's got the whole building locked down." Ethan inhaled sharply. "What do you want?" Hale's eyes gleamed. "A conversation." Hale gestured toward a row of empty chairs near the stage. "Sit." Ethan didn't move. "I'd rather stand." Hale chuckled. "Of course you would. Fine, then let's get to it." He turned to the screen, waving a hand. The image shifted to classified documents, bank transfers, confidential government records, Titan Industries encrypted files. Ethan's files. Hale didn't need to say anything. The message was clear. He wasn't bluffing. Ethan's jaw tightened. "What's your endgame?" Hale tilted his head. Titan Industries controls some of the most advanced security systems in the world. Firewalls, encrypted communication, top-tier surveillance networks. He spread his arms. "I don't need to break your system, Ethan. I just need you to open the door." Samantha tensed. "If you think he's going to help you, you're dumber than you look." Hale smiled. "Oh, I don't think he'll help willingly." But Ethan isn't an idiot. He knows power when he sees it. He turned back to Ethan. "So here's the deal. Join me, or Titan Industries falls." Ethan's mind raced. Hale wasn't just after money. He wanted control. A way to manipulate the digital world like he manipulated people. And he was giving Ethan a way out. Nathan's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Got eyes on an access tunnel. South corridor. 2 guards. It's our best shot." Ethan didn't flinch. "You really think you can buy me, Hale?" Hale sighed, shaking his head. "Buy? Number persuade? Absolutely." He leaned in. "You're not leaving here unless I say so." Ethan's fingers twitched at his side. Time for a distraction. Without warning, Samantha drew her weapon and fired a shot at the screen, shattering it. Sparks rained down as the room plunged into further chaos. Attendees screamed. The gunman spun around, momentarily distracted. "Move!" Ethan barked. He and Samantha bolted for the nearest exit. Gunfire exploded behind them as Hale's men regained their focus. Bullets tore through chairs and shattered glass as they sprinted toward the south corridor. Nathan's voice roared through the comms. "2 guards at the door, make it fast." They crashed through the doorway into the corridor, slamming it shut behind them. 2 guards turned, rifles raising. Samantha dropped the first with a precise shot. Ethan lunged at the second, slamming his fist into the man's throat before grabbing his gun and swinging it like a club. The guard crumpled. Footsteps thundered behind them. "Tunnel straight ahead," Nathan yelled. They sprinted, rounding a corner, then stopped cold. A single figure stood in their path, Vincent Hale, calm, smirking, as if he had planned this moment all along. Behind him, more gunmen emerged from the shadows. Ethan's grip tightened on the stolen weapon. Hale spread his arms. "You didn't really think I'd let you walk away, did you?" Samantha's breath hitched. "Ethan." Hale took a step forward, voice low and taunting. "Your move." Ethan's heart pounded. There was no way out. Ethan's grip on the stolen weapon tightened. Vincent Hale stood in front of him, calm, calculating, flanked by his gunmen. The corridor behind them was blocked. Their only escape route had become a dead end. Samantha shifted slightly, eyes darting for alternatives. There were none. Hale exhaled slowly, his smirk widening. "I admire your resilience, Ethan. Really, I do." He took a measured step forward. "But you're out of time, out of options." Nathan's voice crackled in Ethan's earpiece. "Boss, you need another route. I'm working on it." Ethan's mind raced. They needed a diversion, something, anything. He glanced at Samantha. She gave a barely perceptible nod. Hale's eyes flicked between them. "Don't do something stupid." Ethan did it anyway. He fired. The gunshot echoed through the corridor, not at Hale, but at the overhead emergency sprinkler system. Water erupted in a torrential downpour. Lights flickered as electrical panels sparked. The sudden chaos sent Hale's men scrambling, momentarily disoriented. "Move!" Ethan barked. Samantha grabbed a flashbang from her belt and hurled it to the floor. The explosion of white light and sound disoriented their attackers. Ethan and Samantha sprinted through the confusion, shoving past disoriented guards. Hale's voice rang through the chaos. "Stop them!" Gunfire erupted, bullets shredding the air around them. They dove behind a row of steel lockers for cover. A bullet ricocheted inches from Ethan's head. Samantha fired back, taking down one of the advancing gunmen. Nathan's voice was urgent in their ears. "Stairwell, 10 meters ahead. Go now!" Ethan and Samantha made a break for it, sliding through the open door just as more guards stormed in behind them. Ethan slammed it shut and locked it. Heavy fists pounded on the other side. They raced down the stairwell, taking 2 steps at a time. The security alarms blared overhead, their shrill cries mixing with the distant shouts of Hale's men. Samantha gritted her teeth. "This better not lead to another dead end." Nathan's voice came through. "It won't. Sub-level 3, service tunnels, but you need to move." Ethan reached the bottom first, yanking the heavy door open. The dimly lit underground passage stretched ahead, damp and cold, the perfect escape route. They dashed inside. Ethan exhaled, his breath visible in the cold air. "We keep moving until we hit an exit." But Samantha had stopped. Ethan turned. "Sam?" Her gun was raised, pointed directly at him. A cold wave washed over him. "What the hell are you doing?" Samantha's jaw was tight, her expression unreadable. "I'm sorry, Ethan." Heavy footsteps echoed behind them. More gunmen emerged from the darkness. Leading them was Vincent Hale. Ethan's blood ran cold. Hale smiled. "I told you, you had no way out." Ethan clenched his fists. Samantha had betrayed him. Or had she? Ethan's heart pounded. His eyes flicked between Samantha and Hale. Her gun remained trained on him, but something was off. Her grip wasn't steady. Hale chuckled. "Surprised? You shouldn't be. Everyone has a price." Ethan's voice was cold. And what was hers? Samantha's jaw tightened. "It's not what you think." Hale stepped closer, hands casually in his pockets. "Come on, Ethan. Did you really believe you could waltz into my world and leave unscathed?" He gestured at Samantha. She made the smart choice. You, however. Ethan tensed as Hale's men raised their weapons. Then, Samantha moved. In a blur, she spun, firing 3 rapid shots. 2 guards dropped instantly. The third barely had time to react before her bullet struck him square in the chest. Ethan lunged, disarming the nearest gunman. He swung the rifle around, knocking another to the floor. Chaos erupted in the tunnel. Hale's furious voice cut through the gunfire. "Get them, now!" Samantha grabbed Ethan's arm. "Run!" They sprinted down the dim corridor, footsteps pounding behind them. Nathan's voice crackled in Ethan's earpiece. "Loading bay ahead. If you make it, I can get you out." Ethan's lungs burned as they pushed forward. Samantha glanced over her shoulder. "They're closing in." Ethan spotted a set of barrels stacked precariously near a support beam. He fired at them. The explosion rocked the tunnel, sending debris crashing down and blocking their pursuers, temporarily. They reached the loading bay. A single black SUV idled near the exit, engine running. Nathan's voice was urgent. "You've got seconds before they find another way around." Ethan turned to Samantha. "Why?" She met his gaze, guilt flashing in her eyes. "I had to make him think I turned." "Then why didn't you tell me?" "I needed it to be real." A familiar voice interrupted, touching. Hale stood at the bay entrance, gun in hand, a fresh wave of guards at his side. Ethan's stomach dropped. Ethan slammed the SUV into gear, tires screeching as they tore out of the loading bay. Bullets shattered the rear window, and Samantha ducked, returning fire through the opening. Nathan's voice crackled in their earpieces. "They've got pursuit vehicles incoming. You need to lose them, fast." Ethan's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. The industrial complex's narrow roads twisted ahead, leading toward the main highway. In the rearview mirror, 3 black SUVs accelerated, closing the distance. Samantha reloaded. "I count at least 6 gunmen." Ethan took a sharp turn, clipping a dumpster. "Hold on." He gunned the engine, but the pursuing vehicles matched his speed. More gunfire erupted, sparks flying as bullets ricocheted off the frame. Nathan's voice was tense. "Tunnel ahead. If you make it inside, I can trigger the security shutters. Cut them off." Ethan spotted it, an old underground maintenance tunnel just off the next intersection. He veered hard, tires screaming. The first SUV behind them wasn't fast enough to react, slamming into a pole. But the other 2 kept coming. Ethan swerved into the tunnel entrance. Nathan's countdown began in his ear. 3, 2. Metal shutters groaned as they started to descend. The first SUV barreled in after them, barely squeezing through. The second wasn't so lucky. The reinforced steel slammed down, crushing the front end, trapping the remaining gunmen outside. Inside the tunnel, Ethan and Samantha had a new problem. The remaining SUV accelerated, trying to ram them off the road. The tunnel was too narrow for evasive maneuvers. Ethan floored the gas, but their pursuers weren't letting up. Samantha fired at the tires of the SUV behind them. The shots landed, but the armored wheels held. "They're not slowing down," she shouted. Ethan's eyes flicked to the tunnel exit. A sharp drop led to a construction site below. If they didn't stop, they'd go over the edge. Nathan's voice was sharp. "Brace yourselves! Collision incoming!" With a deafening crash, the pursuing SUV slammed into them, sending their vehicle skidding toward the drop. Ethan fought for control, but it was too late. They were going over. Ethan's hands gripped the wheel as the SUV hurtled toward the edge. Time slowed. Samantha braced against the dashboard, eyes wide with fear. The moment of impact came fast. The SUV plummeted off the ledge, crashing into the construction site below. Metal groaned, glass shattered, and a cloud of dust erupted around them. For a moment, there was silence. Then, coughing, Ethan forced the driver's door open, pain searing through his ribs. Samantha groaned beside him, blood trickling down her temple. The wrecked vehicle lay in a heap of debris, tilted dangerously. Nathan's voice crackled. "Ethan, do you copy?" Ethan pulled Samantha free, helping her to her feet. "We're alive, barely." But they weren't safe. A black SUV screeched to a halt at the edge of the site. The door swung open. Hale stepped out, gun in hand. Ethan and Samantha took cover behind a stack of steel beams. "This ends now," Hale called. "No more running." Ethan locked eyes with Samantha. They had one shot. He grabbed a metal rod, hurling it toward a stack of loose scaffolding. The structure groaned, then collapsed. Hale dove, but it was too late. Steel bars crashed down, pinning him beneath the wreckage. Samantha rushed forward, kicking his gun away. Hale coughed, glaring up at them. "You think this changes anything?" Ethan stood over him. "Yeah, I do." Sirens wailed in the distance. Nathan's voice was urgent. "Law enforcement inbound. You did it." Ethan exhaled, the weight of the past weeks crashing down. It was over. As the police swarmed the site, Ethan turned to Samantha. You never told me why you stayed?" She smirked, wiping blood from her cheek. "Guess I finally picked the right side." Nathan's SUV pulled up, the door swinging open. "Time to go before the press gets here." Ethan glanced back at Hale, now in cuffs. Then he climbed into the car, the adrenaline fading. He had gone undercover to save his company. Instead, he'd uncovered something bigger, and something told him this was just the beginning.